Hello, this is Gene. It's been a while since I've talked on this channel. Just didn't really have a need to do it, I guess. But there are a few things I wanted to discuss. I'm starting to get back on Twitter, getting back into the whole thing. I try to take a couple months off after the election and all that stuff. And even though most of the stuff I'm going to talk about right now is mostly low hanging type of fruit, I just want to get off my chest. It'll help me in the long run just to get my feelings about what's going on. A lot of this is personal as far as the people that are inspiring me to do this, because it's people I know, people in my family, some of the things they've said online, and their belief that they believe some of the things they do. And I'm not going to name them. I'm just going to say that you might understand once I go through this why I'm discussing this right now. First, I want to talk about, I have 4 or 5 things I want to talk about, and I may go back and look at it to remind myself what I'm going to do. But first, I want to talk about the black and Asian issue that's going on right now. It's strange now that several reports have come out how the Asian community and the black community are trying to get together and stop the, I think it's an epidemic of Asian violence from black people. But they get together talking about the real issue is white supremacy, and that's the reason why this is happening. Or COVID is the real reason why black males are raping, beating up, assaulting Asian people in the United States. And these are almost all in liberal cities. And I don't want to go down that road to blame liberals in their cities as have all the problems that they have, because yes, they did stupid shit about we're not going to arrest you if you do something like this. And once you tell a criminal that they can do whatever they want to do, they're going to keep doing it. You know, it's like this is like human nature. But the interesting thing now is that they have all these marches, and it's like it's not the individual's responsibility of the act of assault or rape or anything like that. It's apparently the systemic racism that black people have to deal with, that because maybe one person who happened to be white said the the Wuhan virus, someone called him a Chinese virus because that's what the former president said that, and that is starting all this violence against Asian people. And I'm thinking to myself, yeah, all these, and I'll call them what they are. They're thugs that do this. Clearly watch President Trump and believe everything he says, and they're mandated by what they say he says, and they have to go out and they have to have a revenge against people who look like Chinese people, and that's their motivation. It's not just because this has always been an issue. Black males being not kind to Asian males or Asian women, and when people, it's a very simple psychological thing. When you find out who the victim is going to be, and you find the person that's easiest to be victimized, and for the most part, Asian people are smaller in stature. Not that that's good or bad, but that's how it is, and it's easier for somebody to perpetrate against them based on that. Now, there might be some of those black people that really hate Chinese people or Asian people, but normally it's just a crime of opportunity. There is no racism here. There is no some sort of white supremacy that's somehow driving young black males, to go assault Asian people. And now they're all together in these liberal areas, and they're like, let's march together, and we get together get together and as the communities get together. And I think that's a great thing. But they're not really looking at the real issue. And it's the same thing I've said in this channel since I started it. The biggest issue in the black community is there's no fathers in the home. And until they actually realize that, and I'm a white guy saying it, but there have been several black commentators, conservative commentators, and even some liberal ones that says that is the problem in the black community, is there's no fathers in the home. Until that's actually talked about, all we're going to get is what we see on Twitter. And I guess Twitter isn't everything about the United States, but somehow Biden was elected. So seriously, they have some sort of power there. and the people that they're on Twitter voted for this guy, and they're all the people in this little comments under this whole little story about this, because somebody said, "What are you talking about? It's just black people doing this when they shouldn't be doing it. Have some sort of behavioral modification. Don't do shit like this." And everybody is just piling down these people to call them racist. Well, you're all racist because you're saying that it's not black people's fault. So I said, no, the real issue is black males. And I get people responding to me and saying, what are you talking about? You're just trying to stir the pot. That's racist. And I'll say, no. The problem is black males that are universally are the ones that are doing this. And I said, I also put in the whole thing that it's happened a lot in the Jewish community as well. In New York, it's black males that are doing this to Jewish people. Now, again, on this channel, I have this whole thing about everybody being a victim. And Jews are always always want to be at the top of that pyramid of being the victim. And I don't know how real or often that this is happening in New York, but apparently it's more than normal. And what's happening with the Asians, same thing. It's more than normal. But they come back and say, well, I said, what? Now we're going to say that the reason why they're doing it is because Trump said mean words by calling the virus a Chinese virus, that we're going to blame Trump. And the guy's back, oh, you're a Trump supporter. Well, that makes sense. And I'm like, you're not ever going to, you're going to actually look at the actual crime, or are we not going to talk about facts about this at all? That you're always going to defend them. I don't think black people need you to defend them. And this is a white guy on Twitter. I think that they can defend themselves. They need to look at themselves and their community and say, we've done something wrong here. And it's happening in the white community as well. At some point, we're going to be the same problem as well. We have less and less people that are together, a family unit, fathers and mothers in the house. We applaud single mothers in this country. We applaud young girls in this country. And we basically turn up our nose against young white boys and men. And you wonder why, when this does happen, when there is somebody who's a white person that just goes off, that might be a reason for that. When they have no future in their mind, that everything's against them, at some point they're going to snap. But this idea about black criminality between 18 to 35, it's been around for a while. And it really started happening when all of a sudden the government said, we'll be the father in the house. And single mothers in the black communities don't have to worry about having a man in the house. And also, it might be better for you just to have more and more babies, and we'll go ahead and give you money for that. And if you don't really want them, that we will also want you to have abortions all the time as well. So this is so degenerate that it's destroyed the black community. Before all this happened, the crime rate was pretty balanced. Overall, black criminality was a little bit higher than white criminality. And you could have said maybe back then, in the 60s, 50s, that there are still the after effects of slavery or Jim Crow type laws, stuff like that, that you understand that. You're trying to get out of poverty, you do stuff like that. But it just went crazy when the fathers left the house. And everybody knows this, but they don't want to talk about it because the most vocal people on the left that gets the best voter blocks is black women. And as much as everybody said, oh my God, that Trump got so many black votes, he got 10%, but he lost 10% of the white vote. So this coalition that they think that they're going to have in the future, and the Republicans are no longer Republicans, but that's another video. So that's the first one. It's just, it's ridiculous on its face when people are going to basically they're blaming Trump for people who are adults for the most part. You could be younger than 18, but young men, black males, are attacking Asian people. And these are not the people that really follow Trump and would never listen to what Trump would have to say. But no one wants to look at the real factual issues of it and how we can actually fix it. Now, no one's going to listen to a white man like myself, that's fine. But they don't listen to black conservatives anyway. So they're going to continually do what they're going to do. And people are not going to go around in certain places in parts of California where this is happening. They're just going to go where they're going to do, and we're going to continually divide ourselves that way. And that's exactly what's going to happen, and that's what's going to happen. Okay, the next one I want to talk about is trans. Okay, all right. I saw a post on Facebook, and it said that most doctors will not have sex reassignment. Actually, I think all of them is what the person said. That they won't have this before they're minors. You know, they would only have it after that. And there's nothing really wrong with hormone blocking type stuff. You know, to stop you from going through your change when you go through puberty. And I'm thinking to myself, and I'm like, the studies that we know. Okay, before I get into this, the latest survey they did with people who are millennials and Generation Z said that 1.4% believe that they're trans. And that's actually more than consider themselves lesbians. And over 11% say they're bisexual. So when we talk about a social construct, that what we've had, you know, this whole thing that race is a social construct. I don't believe that, but I do believe what's happened with the media and everything else the last 30 or 40 years, that they've infiltrated our young people, and that they actually think that through social constructing that they're this way, that it's okay. These are the same people that were the flower kids in the 60s and the 70s, and then they went away, and then they had their own kids and everything, and now it's all back again, and it's like 1,000 times worse because the mainstream is on their side, academia is on their side. Look at any college campus; it's 25-1, conservative to liberal. And to be honest, even the conservative probably would be okay with a lot of this shit. The libertarian will say, you know what? We don't care if you want to have you want to have a sexual reassignment surgery. That's fine, but we want you to be 18 before you do it. And their response to that, not all the trans, of course, it's like, no, wait a second. I was 4 years old and I already felt like I'm a girl when I'm a guy. So why should I have to worry about having, my dig to get bigger or my balls to get bigger or to have so much hair? So I need to stop doing this now. And we have somebody who's the assistant to the health secretary, who's a trans woman, who's obviously a biological male, and she's basically saying that at 3 years old that they should have that ability to say that. And anybody who's been a kid knows that you've been through shit. So I have pictures of my son, Ryan, that he was wearing a girl's thing when he was 3 years old. Now, he is not the most alpha testosterone type of dude. Neither was I. But he's still a guy, and he likes women. And the thing is that the studies are pretty clear that if you go down this road and you give these people these blockers before they go through puberty, all the people that will get it will end up being trans because your body will not make the change. And we still have the same suicide rate whether you get trans before you have the surgery or after. It's the same. So there's other issues going on here. But the other side of the story says that if you allow kids to actually get through puberty, 98 or so just continue to be whatever considered normal, heterosexual, whatever, or maybe bisexual, something like that. But they're no longer identify themselves as trans. Now, because of this Generation Z saying they're 1.4 and all that, those numbers will probably go up or go down a little bit because it becomes almost like a badge of courage right now to be this way. I have two daughters who are gay. I think one, I have two daughters. One is a biological daughter. The other one who was with me the entire time. So it's one of those things I have to deal with as a person, is that this one person lived with me the entire time, was never really, but she is what she is. She's a lesbian, and that's what she wants to be. The other one's my biological daughter, has the characteristics at certain points that she looked more, not butched, like a tomboy. She could do things that guys could do. That you look at that more naturally. So you have somebody maybe was born that way, the other maybe became that way. I don't know. I don't want to go down that road. I don't really care. They can make the anybody can make the decisions. They can love what they want. But when you start talking about before puberty that we're going to give somebody drugs that will stop them from going through puberty because of a decision they make when they're 6 or 4 or 5 years old, and then the state wants to come in, and this woman's going to be the assistant, and you don't think she's going to? She already is. She talks about this all the time, that she wants to have it the right of the child when she's 5 or 6 years old to have this surgery, or even just have the drugs at that point, instead of just saying, let's take a step back. At 4 or 5 years old, you don't understand what that means. Some adult's gonna have to tell you that, hey, you know what, you're gonna have having, if you're a guy and you're a girl and you don't want to have boobs. I don't have boobs. I'm 5. I don't want to have boobs now. I don't like my mom. It's so stupid. And this is where we're at. In Canada, they're allowing this to happen. 10 years ago, I said this will never fucking happen. 5 years ago, I'm like, this was not going to happen. And now it's coming. And we're just sitting there with our head in the sand, and we're not trying to stand up about it. It's someone used to tell me this. At some point, when is the white man going to stand up? I said, it didn't happen in Rotherham when 1,600 girls that were raped by Muslim men. You thought that would have been enough. It's not. When it happened in Germany, when they raped all the women on New Year's Eve years ago, nothing happened really. And now they're coming to our kids. I mean, it's like, at what point are you actually going to stand up and say we can't do it? So they get upset because on January 6th, that about 20 people with some sort of intent went in there and did some stuff at the Capitol, and a lot of other people just kind of walked in there and said, "Oh, that's kind of cool. Let me get me on a video of me in here, and a selfie and all that shit." What do you think? Do you think that at some point that we as a community, as some of the common sense community, is not going to snap at some point? I mean, we don't reproduce right now, especially in the white community, and it's the black community as well, because they kill half as many people. They kill as many as they get. That's why they're still at 13% of the population. So, what time are you gonna? What time are you gonna actually stand up? And then another guy comes out there and said that the GOP is becoming almost anti-white, and somebody came up with this, 350 million people in this country, and what does he say? 2,000 or 280 million are white. And why would they do that? And I'm like, what are you talking about? Right now, non-Hispanic men or white people is 60.7 of the population, and it's going down dramatically. And that's why you see the shift in the Republican Party, because they know what's coming. They know that Texas is moving; it'll be blue. It's very possible that Florida will be as well. And they'll never win a national election. There is no policies, as well as they say that Trump did with Hispanic people in the Rio Grande Valley. It's not enough when it comes to demographics. I don't know what's going to change. And all this does anyway, it still divides us. We can't look at a certain ideal and say this is a good thing. This country should celebrate family, fathers and mothers, kids, church if you want to go, help for people that need it, kind of get the government out of our bedroom, and that leads me to something else. Okay, this whole trans debate somehow got put into the circumcision debate as well, because apparently trans debating, when you cut up your fucking dicks, put in someone's inside them to be like a vagina, that's mutilation. But having a circumcision on an infant is not. And so Jana Ellis, who was a lawyer for Trump, like her, she's a Christian, like a lot of things she has to say, but she put a tweet out last night saying it's not the same thing. And okay, and maybe at the severity of it when you're talking about what they have to do, but it's still mutilation. And I still don't understand at this point, in a country, why are we using a Jewish ritual to circumcise our young boys in this country. This is a Jewish tradition. It is not a Christian tradition. This is their pact that God did with the Jews. It has nothing to do with ethnic Europeans or people who are Christian or something like that. Now, clearly, I'm 55 years old. I was cut when I was done. That was the normal thing at that time. We were taught by the government that there are certain things that are good to do it this way. But we know now that that's all bullshit. And overseas, it's not a big issue. But this thing it's a weird thing when you go down it. And she didn't really respond to this. People are they called her out for it. But then it's still Trump's fault somehow. Either way, I said we should not, as Christians, or Americans for that matter, support the mutilation of a young boy's penis. And just because it maybe looks better, I don't understand why that would be. Now, in my family, I have one that's cut, the other one's not. I was late in the game when it comes to this. My oldest son was cut. My newest one isn't. I wouldn't allow it. This whole thing about it's not gonna look like yours. So I saw what happened with my son. I know that he suffered when he went through it. Who knows the issues that I had as a young person, not having trust issues or something like that. It could have been all related to that. And my son has issues as well, my older son. I'm not saying it's that, but again, there's no reason for it. There's no medical reason for it. And when people who are religious and they use God when they're talking about government and stuff and policies, and they say we shouldn't, like Rand Paul said it the other day, I think it was, or it was another one in the Congress that said it. He said that God is supposed to be perfect, and whatever they give us is our body is what's supposed to be perfect, even through people who are mentally challenged. My younger son has issues, but that's still a perfect thing. Why would you then now try to change it? And that's his argument. But then they're okay with them cutting off somebody's foreskin. I mean, it's really crazy, and it's mutilation, and it should be stopped. It should be at least phased out over the next years and years, because this is still. Go ahead and watch I think the Seder, whatever it's called. Watch that little ritual that they do, the old school especially, where the rabbi actually bites it off, the foreskin. I mean, this is some weird type of satanic bullshit that really needs to stop. We don't have, our bond with God is that we ask for a redemption or a saving from them if you're a Christian, or if you're a Catholic, you get baptized and all that stuff. But this is us one-to-one saying, solve me of my sins through Jesus Christ. It is not cutting off part of our skin to be this little bond that we have with God. And why we still have this thing, it's almost, to me, in a lot of ways, it's kind of the way that they have so much influence over our society because of this. They're like, see, you're with us. You're here with us. You're part of us. And they talk about this, and it's in their books. And they talk about how they just read, or they lead us on, the Goyim. And I don't want to go down that. I don't want to get anybody in trouble. I'm trying to be somewhat PC in this. But there is no reason for it. And as I said, I'm cut. My oldest son is cut. But at some point, we need to get past this. This is just a ritual, a religious ritual that no longer needs to happen in the Western world. Unless you're Jewish and you really have to do this. Okay, that's up to them. And that wouldn't stop them from doing it. But they should not, it should be the first thing that a doctor says we're going to do after the baby's born. And there's so many times they just do it without telling the parents. They just do it. That needs to stop. All right, I think that's the last one, or I have one more. Oh, yeah, and we'll talk about just Syria at the end. Because right now, should be a big issue. The news said some of it last time, but it's nowhere. It's not on the number one, it's not on the front pages of any of the websites out there. They're talking about things like whatever What's-Her-Face did with the little sign about there are two genders in Congress. That's a big issue. They want to talk about the Asian black thing on some other ones, and they want to talk about white supremacy on this other thing. There's no really discussion about Syria. But of course, 4 years ago, almost at the exact same time, everybody on the left And the new press secretary was like, we can't be doing this. You have to get approval to do this stuff. But apparently it's okay now. So again, this is one of those, everything that we can go back in 4 or 5 years ago and say, my God, you were against it back now, but it's okay now. And nobody cares. You can actually show all this stuff to the left. It doesn't fucking matter. They don't care. They just want to be, they want to be whatever, in power or and right. You sit there and actually show statistics when it comes to black criminality, and it's still, they don't care. They're, as long as it doesn't really affect them, and even when they do that, sometimes they do. You know, there are so many stories where some migrant or some illegal alien killed somebody here in the United States and Germany and stuff, and then the fathers of the slain are like, we shouldn't be racist about it now. Can I just say that maybe we should stop illegal immigration to come in this country, and that would stop stuff like this? Well, that's racist. I mean, when are we going to wake up in this country? I mean, seriously, or this is what we're going to do. You know, yes, this is more of a black pill type of video, but that's what I'm seeing. I think that's going to end right now. I've been talking for over 25 minutes. Just let me know down below. And if you like this content at all, just go ahead and subscribe to me if you want, or share this or something like that. Again, I'm trying to be less PC. My wife lives in or works in the public sector. I don't want to say too much anymore. So hopefully we can have a little discussion in the comments below. You guys have a good day, and we'll talk to you later. Bye.